I think I figured out why programmers face a never-ending identity crisis, and it all goes back to this. Software development is a craft. At least once on their educational journey, software developers were told to focus on the quality of their code, to focus on the aesthetic, to write code that is elegant, code that is maintainable, code that is not just functional. Developers are told they need to be craftspeople, artisans, and custodians of the craft. Endless books have been written about these topics. Then, when these same developers join the workforce, they are hit with a bitter reality. Professional software development is not about craftsmanship. It's time we rectify this dissonance and help you relearn how to enjoy your work as a programmer. So let's talk about it. When I first started my programming journey at the age of 12, all I cared about was getting things to work. Many of you have probably started along the same lines. We were just fascinated by what these machines can do and all the cool things we could build with them. I still remember my first tic-tac-toe implementation had about 200 if conditions. That was the only way I knew how to do it. In that implementation, I realized that I could never beat the program except when I missed a condition. And after playing with this for a while, I also realized that this game was just unbeatable and that it was not fun at all. This realization pushed me to wonder if there were better ways to write software. My skills obviously improved over the years, but it wasn't until my data structures and algorithms course at college that a whole new world was unlocked for me. I was so intrigued by the simple and different ways we could structure code to get profoundly different and more optimal outcomes. This was the pivotal point that changed my view on programming forever. From there on, I was hooked on the idea of optimizing my implementations and the endless pursuit of simplistic elegance. Every book I read drilled the idea that coding is not just about making things work. Refactoring from Martin Fowler, Clean Code by Robert Martin, Code Complete, Steve McConnell, The Pragmatic Programmer from Andrew Hunt and David Thomas, Design Patterns by the Gang of Four. These were essential readings early on in my career. They created this illusion in my mind that if I'm not optimizing for code quality, then I'm doing something wrong. And inevitably, I fell into the trap of thinking that if I'm not anticipating potential code quality problems and fixing them by abstraction-heavy code, then I'm setting myself up for future problems. And as with any other form of obsession, and in order to evolve and progress my career as a software engineer, I had to rewire my brain to adapt to the realities of the profession. This adaptation, many software engineers are still struggling with. Many are avoiding it. Many are still in denial of its necessity. Many have even become bitter about it. Many have made themselves victims and externalized the blame, as doing that is much easier than accepting the fact that software development is not a craft when done at a professional capacity. This is the programmer's identity crisis. Why can't programming be a craft? The simple answer is the law of diminishing returns. As we all know, writing code and verifying it takes time. This is a fundamental truth. When writing code at a professional capacity, a conflicting optimization dynamic emerges between two forces. The business force, which optimizes for reducing the go-to-market time, maximizing revenue growth, minimizing the cost of goods, basically the cost of everything that goes into manufacturing a product, and then the engineering force, which optimizes for delivering goods as per a spec, which are the requirements, maximizing code maintainability, minimizing operational overhead, and minimizing churn, which is basically the amount of experienced developers leaving and onboarding new joiners. There are obviously many other variables that go into this complicated optimization battle, but you get the point. These two opposing forces cancel each other out, and they are rarely in a stable state. There are always changing conditions that prevent the system from reaching a state of equilibrium. In a business context, which by definition is designed to make a profit, it's impossible for the engineering force to overtake the business force. Even when you have a so-called strong engineering culture and strong engineering leadership, it's impossible for the balance to skew more towards the engineering side, because that inevitably means that the business will not be able to optimize for its intended purpose. It's as simple as that. What this translates to on the ground is a higher pressure for software engineers to deliver under less than ideal circumstances. If we're not optimizing code for maintainability, this means higher technical debt, higher operational overhead, higher churn rate, lower fault tolerance, and system resilience. You name it. Well, this is depressing. It doesn't have to be. I strongly believe that if we accept the fact that software engineering is not a craft in the business context, we can work towards establishing a better balance with all of the opposing forces. Learning these 4 things helped me tremendously thrive at different capacities throughout my career. Number 1, reshape your perspective of the people who are driving business outcomes. It's not you or them, it's actually you and them. You are both 2 parts of the same equation. And no, they don't need to understand the technical aspects. It's our job to advise them. Number 2, don't negotiate technical outcomes. Negotiate for business outcomes driven by technical objectives. Spending 13 weeks refactoring this service will decrease our incidents from 3 on average per year to 1 or less, which translates to a 67% decrease in our SLA violation payments. It's obviously not always as simple as that, but you get the point. 3, I encourage you to reconsider statements like this. I'm not a business person. I don't want to understand the business. I just want to write code. That's what I was hired for. That's true. You were not hired to operate a business, but the reality is the more streamlined the communication is between the different contributors to a business, the better are the outcomes for everyone. If you want better outcomes, you need to develop skills that will help you and others coordinate faster, more effectively, and with less noise. Number 4, there are other avenues to practice programming as a craft. For me, I scratched that itch with side projects, by teaching about our industry, and by building tools. Programming can obviously be whatever you want it to be in other contexts. And if you can find a way to generate revenue while elevating your practice of programming to the highest artisanal levels, congratulations, my friend. You have unlocked the ultimate state of being in this industry. Have you found that holy grail? Let me know in the comments, and I will catch you next time.